All right, let's call to order our March 2nd meeting of the Community Preservation Commission. Our first order of business is to review and approve our minutes from February. Are there any changes or comments or clarifications to them? If they're okay for everybody, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Yes.
Is there a second?
Motion. Second.
All in favor of approving our February minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Our minutes are approved. Next is our staff report. Take it away, Emma.
Just a few things to report for this month. Some of you might have already filled it out, but right now the planning department has opened their community input survey for the reuse at 15 Maple Avenue. So if you haven't gotten a chance to submit a survey, I definitely would. I can send that to you after the meeting. Also, just want to shout out the fact that there's over 500 surveys that have been submitted right now. So we're getting a lot of traction on that. Secondly, we have received an updated SHI, our housing inventory list, and the percentage in Shrewsbury has gone up. So if you're, I'm sure there will be more, updates about that in the future. Also, Shrewsbury recently, the planning department recently submitted a letter of support for a CMRPC grant. It's an arts and culture grant, so hopefully CMRPC will receive that, and there'll be more news about that as well. And lastly, the planning department submitted the Mass Trails grant earlier in February, and we should hear back sometime in the summer. And I know that is a CPC project, so we will definitely keep all of you updated on whether or not that grant is received.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Emma? Okay, then we'll move on to our discussion items. And the first is about the master plan.
Yes. Master plan, this was just an update that there has been a consultant who has been picked. And Griffin, if you don't mind reminding me.
Yeah, it's Barrett. We chose Barrett as our master plan consultant. They have done many other Massachusetts-based ones. So we are happy with their proposal, and we look forward to working with them.
So more updates to come, but just wanted to provide that a consultant has been chosen to all of you.
All right. And then next is our quarterly budget report.
Yes. So our quarterly budget report, as all of you know from when this format was first presented to all of you back in October, this has a breakdown project by project of how much funds have been expended by individual CPC project. So there were only a few updates since October, but there have been a few changes and a few projects that have submitted more invoices. And I also this gets into action items, but draw your attention to the fact that there are 3 new project closeouts that have been received. So in the narrative update portion of the quarterly report, you'll see that reflected. And you'll also see any other updates that we've received about the project. And those are always shared with the committee as they're received, but they're also gathered here for all of you to look at. But does anyone have any questions about any specific projects that I can dive into an update for?
Do you
When
wanna-
you say specific projects, meaning what?
If there's any specific CPC projects that you would like to hear an update for.
Oh,
Four of them, right?
you want to discuss, I thought, never mind, I'm not prepared here. I had a few of them I wanted to ask about.
Sure.
Mount, Arrowhead,
Yes.
it says we've spent $140,000 on it.
Mhm.
There's no, what do we spent that money on?
That's on the Arrowwood project.
Yeah,
So Arrowwood is moving along. I don't have a detailed invoice breakdown of what those funds were for because those funds are controlled by the Public Works Department. So that's who gets the invoices. However, I know back in December we met with Kevin Esposito and he told us that things were moving along. So I'm sure work will get started in the springtime.
Well,
Obviously the weather is better.
They bought the playground equipment already.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I was gonna say, you know, they haven't put a shovel in the ground yet. So they spend money.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we typically show all of the money being spent if it's encumbered already. So if they show it as an encumbrance, then we
and
show it as-
encumbrance meaning if they got the bill?
they typically put them in the encumbrance section in Munis, just to budget it for that project and that specific.
Yeah, but the budget's 600,000.
Yeah,
I'm saying, in your report, you show we've already spent 143,000
Mhm.
of the 600,000.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's no activity going on, which is why I was asking.
Right.
If
No
they bought all the
construction
equipment,
activity.
I guess that would make sense.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
The gravestones, where are we on that?
Yeah, so we received a written update from Kevin Esposito. I believe it was in the folder for our last meeting or the meeting before. But he had mentioned that the weather delayed completion of that project in 2025. So they expect completion hopefully in 2026, given if the weather allows. But it was too hot last summer, I guess, for some of the work that their consultant does. But to date, 50 to 60 graves have gone through the process of being restored.
Well, I guess the reason I'm questioning it is if I can find the spreadsheet here. It shows it as two separate, the 160,000 and the 45,000.
Correct.
So it shows the entire 160,000 being spent, but none of the 45,000 being spent. So
Check that.
is the entire project, when it's done, gonna still just be 160,000?
So, two things for that project. The first is that the second phase of the project, the $160,000 phase,
That's the first phase.
it's the first construction phase. The very first phase was the review, which didn't involve any physical work, but was a review to determine what needed to be done at the cemetery. But yes, for the second round of CPC funding, I guess is how I should put it, for the $160,000. This was, apologies on my end, I had missed that there was an encumbrance on that account. So the $160 has not all been spent. There's actually $91,000 remaining as an encumbrance. But I just hadn't seen that in the system because I'm newer to the accounting system that's used. And that money and then the phase 3, which is the $45,000, both of those funds are being used for the same project. They're
Right.
all being used for the restoration efforts at the Mountain View Cemetery.
Well, but how much is it costing us 205,000?
I would have to double check with Kevin Esposito. I'm not sure if the work that hasn't been done yet, if that's going to be invoiced as it's done, or if it's already been charged. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, it seems odd that we would, in looking at the project, it looks like we've actually spent the 160,000 right on the nose.
Correct. So that was my misunderstanding. I didn't realize that there was an encumbrance on that account when I had last done the quarterly report. So that not all of that money has been spent yet.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so for Mountain View Gravestone Restoration 2, there was 101 or 121, and it's changed, or 101 rather, and it had an encumbrance left of 91,000, so it had a $30,000 change. So there's still $91,000 left out of the 160. It's just was under an encumbrance, so.
Yeah, I mean, you keep saying under an encumbrance. I guess what I'm looking for is there's money still to be,
Yep.
there's work to be done and invoices to be
Correct.
coming in.
Yep.
Yep.
Still money left.
Okay.
Still invoices to come.
Yep. The other projects that have had changes since October include the fire truck, or fire engine. That work is being done on that, and they had an invoice there. And then the First Congregational Church architectural study as well, which just wrapped up. That had their last invoice submitted.
Okay.
So beyond specific questions about specific projects, how does the committee feel about the format of this report? Is this helpful? Does it give you the information that you need? If it is, Emma and Griffin will continue to use this for our reports, or are there other things you might wish to see?
Well, the detail, it sounds like they're still trying to iron things out, my opinion. The detail, the report was 25 pages long, I guess, so I didn't print the whole thing, but yeah, the detail is reasonable. You get stuff in there, it explains things. But in terms of dollars spent, it sounds like it doesn't line up with where they are. You know, see, like in this here, she put down I'll use the word they use, encumbered, which I'm not sure what that means. But it hasn't been actually invoiced. It might, somewhere between an invoice has come in and an invoice has gotten paid, it doesn't show that, I guess, in my mind.
Yeah, no, so I just want to correct that, John, because that's actually the whole point of this report, is to show when invoices are paid and what's actually left in the account.
Right.
Excuse the word encumbrance. Griffin and I have gotten into pretty deep into the accounting of it all, and encumbrances are something that the town accountants can use for certain projects. It's just how the money is being held. That doesn't really have an effect on how the invoices are paid. Even if a project has an encumbrance, or if the money is not being held just in the account and not in an encumbrance, it's still invoiced out the same way and is still going to be reflected in this report. My apologies, the first time we did this report, I wasn't familiar with the encumbrance process, so there were some that I had missed. But now that I know where to find those, it's updated to reflect that as well.
So I guess in terms of getting it correct, the invoice won't necessarily have been paid. It's once the invoice comes in and the accountant posts it,
Correct.
like accounts
Yeah.
payable. It comes in, you post it, and it gets charged to somebody's account. Paying it just puts the cash out the door, but once it's posted, it should show up here as being charged,
Correct.
I guess.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's even reflected in
Going forward.
the account details, when it's posted versus
Mhm.
when the money is actually taken out. But if you want that much detail, that's something that we can definitely do. But that's always,
Well,
those are reflected.
in which detail? I mean, but what you're saying is this report will eventually reflect invoices posted.
It does to date for right now.
Yeah, except for like gravestone, because, it's, yeah, you're
yes.
getting there, that's good.
Yes.
It's the first time we get the report, so that's fine. But yeah, the backup detail, the rest of the 25 pages, I think is real good. For me, anyway.
Me too.
I always speak for myself here.
Is there anything else about this quarterly report? Any other questions or suggestions for format?
Nope.
Have some real-time edits happening. Oh, if we're comfortable that you've asked your questions, we can move on to the draft of our fiscal year 27 budget. Or do you have more questions about this part?
No, I'm just sorting my paperwork.
Does everyone find the draft of our fiscal year 27 budget in the drive, or would you like Emma to put it up on the screen?
Yeah, I can share it just so you
Yeah,
can see
I think it'd be helpful for
what numbers I'm
everyone.
referring to.
as well.
So, I believe this is the same as it has been in years prior, where the blue numbers are the projected numbers. So you'll notice that obviously we're still in fiscal year 2026, and that won't be closed out until the end of the summer. So those are still the projected numbers that are in there, not the actuals. However, we do know what the state match is for this year, so that's an actual. So this is the number that we have received from the assessor's office. That is the estimate of what the surcharge revenue will be for CPC in fiscal year 2027. We also have an estimated state match. So you may remember that in the fall when we received fiscal year 2026 state match, that was around 16.9%. We have been in contact with the coalition, who is in contact with the Department of Revenue, and usually the Department of Revenue releases their own estimate around this time. I chatted with the coalition last week and they had not released it yet, so we went off of a conservative estimate of 15%, so that's what this number right here is for the state match. And this is also a conservative estimate of what the investment income will be. We presume it will be higher than this, but this again is a very conservative estimate.
Question. The match, the 153,000, that's 15% of your budget, right?
Of the
27
surcharge.
budget. I'm sorry?
Of the fiscal year 2027 surcharge.
Right. However, doesn't the state send us the match based on 26 actuals?
It's sent, I know that the estimate that they give, I can share that with all of you when we receive it. It's based off of the fiscal year we're in, whatever their state match is.
But the state the state matches something based on actuals. They don't give us money based on a budget.
No, correct. Yes.
So, in other words, you look at the 26 budget, the 158, we've already got that.
Yes.
But the 158 was based on a percentage of the 25 actual of 932. So I'm saying the 15% should be based on the 26 number, not on the 27 number, that's all.
Mhm. I can double check with the accounting department about that.
Okay.
So sadly, you'll see that our match has gone down every year. In part because there are more towns that have approved CPA, so we have to share it, but also the revenues have gone down. But so that is, this is the projected budget that we, unless there are significant changes this committee feels strongly about, that's what we will present to town meeting as our proposed fiscal year 27 budget. And it shows if you go down further, each of our specific reserves is 10%,
Yep.
and then everything else would be in the undesignated funds.
So we predict that these estimates that we have for the administrative fund will be the same in the next fiscal year. And then, like Deb mentioned, we have the 10% for each of the categories, 5% for the admin fund, and then the remaining 65% in undesignated. And you'll see that I also have the proposed projects in here. That was just so all of you could see what that looks like in this budget and where they would go in the next fiscal year. And just to explain some of the numbers, you'll see that, for example, for the Maple Ave Recreation Area field lighting, this project is broken down both in the open space and recreation category and undesignated. This is similar to how Arrowwood was broken down in this current fiscal year, where the funds that are in the open space and recreation fund are used for the project, and any remaining funds come from the undesignated. So that's why they're broken down like that.
Are there any questions or comments about the budget?
Just what you said, the Maple Ave lighting, was that really 650?
Yes, correct. That's what was approved by this committee at the last meeting.
I thought it was 600. No?
I thought it was less, so. It's okay.
It actually came into 595, and they threw in the 55,000
Right.
contingency to make it 60.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
right, okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So there's no other comments or questions about the budget for now. We'll move on to our action items. And the first of our action items are to approve 3 project closeouts. Emma, do you want to speak to them, or on
Sure.
approving them as closed? What else do we need to do?
Yeah, these are, this is really just kind of formalizing the closeout process, so all of you know that that's happening. Specifically, the District Number 5 Schoolhouse feasibility study and facility review. Obviously, as all of you know, you'll be hearing an eligibility application as a continuation of that project. So wanted all of you to know that those first 2 CPC projects that were approved at the District 5 Schoolhouse are closed out, and we've gotten the final copies of the review and the study, and those are in the drive. And then for the architectural study, I'm waiting to hear back from the project applicant on the final study. He does have it, and will send it over to me, and I'll share it with all of you when that is ready. But the final invoice has been paid, and that project is done. but I can pull up those closeouts if anyone wants to take a look at them. I know two of them were added as they were received later today, so I can pull that up for all of you.
Do we need to take a vote that for each one to call that project closed and complete?
Correct.
And have any dollars been returned, or will they be? And
Yes.
For studies, the study cost is probably the same, but
Yeah, so I can touch on that more when we get to the draft warrant articles. But yes, for the, hold on. The architectural study does have unused funds that can be returned.
I do actually have one question about the historic site sign restrictions. There's no opportunity to put any wording about CPA funds. I mean, for a study, I don't think that's necessary.
Correct.
But if there were construction,
Yes.
would that be permissible?
Yeah, so that's actually something that we've discussed with the project applicant for the eligibility application coming up on our agenda. And that is something that would be possible in this next phase, but obviously since the
Yeah,
first
for a
two
study, there's nothing to
were
put our name on.
study and a review, there's nothing physical to put CPC's name on for signage. But yes, details will be coming.
When we get to that.
Yeah.
Is there, yes,
In regards to projects being closed out, going back to this particular schedule, what I think would be a good idea is the heading, the total of the project. If it's closed out already, could we put that in a different color?
Yeah, absolutely.
This way,
So-
when you look at it quickly, you know which ones I don't wanna bother with.
Right,
So-
right.
And-
Absolutely.
see that.
And I guess a question for all of you, would it be easier to take those off the graph entirely and have a separate like appendix at the end for completed projects? We can do it that way.
I think that makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
Fine with me.
Would you
It-
refresh my memory on, did we closed out the basketball courts, didn't we? Has that been closed out? I don't remember. I mean, it shows that there was funds left over. Have those funds been put back into the,
No, so for both Dean Park basketball court, and this is something that is also true for Camp Wanigan as well. Both of those projects could not be closed out because signage was not completed at either of
Yeah,
those
that's what I
projects,
saw.
and I know that's something that the committee really wants at project sites if possible. So that's something that the project applicant is working on right now. So because of that, those funds won't be able to be returned at this upcoming town meeting because we're still waiting for those signs to be ordered and installed. But once that's completed, they can be officially closed out.
okay, thank you.
So signage, funds returned, and then we can close them.
Or
But at this just long enough.
closeout can come before funds returning, only
Okay.
because funds returning can only happen at a town meeting. So it makes sense for all of you, so you know what projects will be closed out and funds will be returned to close those out first. That way you can also review any final products like a study or a review, and also ensure that signage is there if possible. And that way, then the funds can be returned because you want the signage to be up first, obviously, before you officially close that out.
Are there any questions about closing out each of these?
Yeah, closing out projects in general. Again, looking at the 25-page report, and I didn't write it down, I can't remember which ones. As you read, the thing, some basically said projects were closed out. And some said projects need to be, they expended all the funds, so what it looks like to me is, once we expend all the funds, some projects just get closed out without us voting on it. Other ones say, we need to vote to close it out. I seem to be confused reading them. It didn't seem consistent.
Yes, yeah. So, and that's because it wasn't. So there hasn't been a formal project closeout process previously up until a few months ago. So this is our first time going through that
Alright.
process. So there were projects, for example, the Lake Street Story Walk, that was completed very quickly after it was approved, and that was before there was a formal project closeout process. So obviously, if the committee wants it, we can go back to that applicant and get a formal closeout from them. But going forward, having that paper trail of having a closeout is something that we want to ensure is available to all of you.
Once a project is closed out and it's voted at town meeting to return those funds, how long of a process is that? I mean, will those funds be available right away for like the next round? Or does that take time to filter?
That's a great question. I can only give you my best hypothesis because I'm not sure how it works on the accounting side. I would assume that specifically if those funds are returned at the annual town meeting in the spring, then that means those funds are returned at the start of the new fiscal year, which
Okay,
would be,
yep.
July 1st.
Right.
So those funds would be available to the committee to spend in that new fiscal year.
And we would receive another report at the start of the new fiscal year or the end of the, I mean, we would see that final figure soon in that process probably, right? So we know how much money is there, because there's a pretty big chunk of change on the basketball court.
Yeah,
You know, and to know that that is available or isn't available would be helpful
Yeah.
in the
So,
long term.
I would assume that would be part of this quarterly budget review, or excuse me, budget report, so that all of you can see that those funds were returned, and then that would be moved to the new appendix that will be created for closed out projects.
Okay, great. That's it for me.
Good with that? Okay. Apologize, I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing. So then I believe we need to make a motion for each of these 3 projects to officially close them out. Is there a motion to close out the District 5 Schoolhouse feasibility study?
I make a motion, we close out the District 5 Schoolhouse feasibility study.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor of closing the District 5 Schoolhouse feasibility study project?
Aye.
Any opposed? That project is closed. So a motion to consider the District 5 Schoolhouse facility review project closed.
I make a motion that we close the District 5 Schoolhouse Facility Review.
There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We've closed the District 5 Schoolhouse facility review. And then a motion to close the First Congregational Church architectural study.
I'll make a motion that we close the First Congregational Church architectural study.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We've closed the First Congregational Church architectural study. And now we'll move on to a new project eligibility application for the District 5 Schoolhouse ADA site work. Would you like to hear from the applicant about the eligibility application, or would you like to just rule on the eligibility of such application?
I think it's pretty clear, unless the applicant would like to say something, I'm comfortable with it.
We'll just determine the eligibility at this point. Does seem to fit the criteria set forth. Is Does anyone need a moment to look at the application?
In effect, all we're approving is the application study that we got.
Pardon me?
All we're doing then is approving.
Yes, just the eligibility application.
Okay.
And I will note I've done some research on the Coalition's project database, and there are numerous projects in other communities that involve similar accessibility improvements to historic buildings. So in the Coalition's eyes, this is eligible.
I have a question on this eligibility. It doesn't have a co-sponsor. Is the schoolhouse owned by the town?
No.
Owned by the Historical Society.
Okay.
So in that case, it would not need a co-sponsor. A good question. Yes.
I guess the one question I would have, there's no fund dollars here, which doesn't matter to me at this point. Is this something that can happen relatively quickly? Because if we approve it, it gets approved at the town meeting, it can't be expended till July 1st. So the bids, I don't need, maybe the bids can go out before July 1st, but the point being is, if they want to have it ready for 2027 tricentennial, then the work has to get done pretty quickly. And I guess the question I have is that they expect to get that done. Again, I don't know how much work is involved.
You might want to have Chris.
Is it,
You may want to have Chris come up to answer.
Would you like to answer that question for us?
So-
No, if we are, one thing we will discuss if we deem this project eligible is having a special meeting of this body to review the funding application so that we could get it before town meeting. And we would do that as soon as we can reasonably hold a public hearing on it. Oh, hello, thank you for joining us again.
Christine Gustafson, Vice President of the Shrewsbury Historical Society. I'm the applicant for the eligibility application. I tried to be as complete as possible for what was asked in the eligibility application. With the project funding application, it lists a timeline and the complete budget for this project. And as part of the timeline, and I'm very grateful for the question, part of the timeline would be for opening the schoolhouse in the fall of 2027. So we would have, for example, requests for proposals perhaps this year in the fall, and actual construction work starting in the springtime so that it would be open in the fall. And then it's not a one-event celebratory opening. It would be ongoing for other school groups, other community groups, part of a regular opening for the schoolhouse.
okay. No, I guess I understood it would be opened on an ongoing basis, but I thought in the, maybe I misread it, somewhere in the request, it stated that they wanted to have it open for this celebration of the tricentennial, which I thought was gonna be more in the summer as opposed to the fall.
It's a year, all year long, so it doesn't really, the celebration is a yearly celebration from December 26th to December 27.
Okay.
So anytime during that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're looking for more of a Spirit of Shrewsbury weekend kind of celebration, but
Okay.
could be any time,
It's a,
whenever it's
you
done.
think about the schools when it's back to school time,
Mhm.
and that's when the children are here in town and the work would be completed, so it seems to be a good time to have a big community-wide rollout, and maybe not just one event in September, maybe multiple events in September, and programming with the Historical Society to go along with it.
Well, I guess, either way, I mean, I knew once it was opened, it would be opened
Yep.
forever. I was just curious about the timing of it, that's all.
Thank you for your question, we appreciate it.
Are there any other questions or comments about the eligibility of this project? Is there a motion to deem this project eligible?
I so move. I move that we declare the District 5 schoolhouse ADA site work eligible for CPC funding.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the project is eligible, and we will look forward to your funding application. Emma, you were going to look and see what's the soonest we could advertise, we spoke of this earlier, last week, advertise a public hearing, and that we could, at that time, consider having a special meeting of this body to hold the public hearing on that project and vote to determine whether or not we wish to recommend funding so that it could make the annual town meeting in May. So what would that date possibly be?
Yeah, so the earliest that could happen is Friday, March 20th. So it could either be obviously that Friday or at some point in the following week. We could have a special town meeting special CPC meeting for a public hearing and to vote on that funding application.
Would folks be amenable to having a meeting then, or we could have the public hearing, and then we could vote remotely if we weren't able to have everyone here, but we do need to hold a public hearing prior to us voting.
What would that date be?
The earliest it could be is Friday, March 20th.
Or the week after.
Would you coordinate that with the applicant?
Correct.
I mean, they would have to be here to present, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So whatever works best for them is maybe,
And it can be virtual,
Yeah.
just so you know. The whole meeting can be virtual.
oh, okay.
Really?
The April meeting is too late to do this?
Correct.
Correct. Because the warrants have to be sent in to the select board to get approved. Right. I have the date, give me 1 second.
Did they ask for 6 weeks ahead,
Legal reviews them
my
too.
recollection?
Legal reviews them too.
If it's the only thing on the agenda, it shouldn't be that,
Yep.
Yeah, we can do
It
that.
would just be the review of
Yeah,
the funding
okay.
application for that agenda. That whole meeting would just be the one
got it.
funding and
The public hearing.
the
Yeah.
public hearing, and that's it.
So we would hold a public meeting, have our discussion, and vote all at the same time.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd open the public hearing. If anyone wants to talk about it, they can.
I mean, the
Close it
following
and vote.
week sounds reasonable. I mean, Friday,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
just
you're
the
gonna
very
get a lot of people to
earliest.
show up.
Unless we're serving refreshments, right?
Are there dates that do not work for the applicant?
Both dates are perfect.
Excellent. Emma, is there a room available, or do we wish to do this virtually?
That is completely up to the committee's jurisdiction. Or, yeah, it's up to you guys if you want to choose fully virtual, if that's easier. Or if you would like to have it in person, we can have it in person as well.
What do you all think? What would you like to do?
Well, maybe I'm
And
old
which
school,
date?
but I prefer in person, so there's no glitches, you know, when we're trying to.
No.
If it's in person, I personally
your
would
hand.
prefer not a Friday evening because, well, it's still ski season.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of the following week,
Yeah, the
Which
week
would
of
be
the
the-
Whole week
22nd.
is fine.
23rd or 24th, that Monday or Tuesday.
Fine.
Getting nodding heads, so it looks like we might be available either of those nights. What fits better with you two? So I know you have some very long days, and if it's already a long day, we'd be happy to just do it then instead of giving you another long day.
I know that this room is available on Monday evening, the 23rd.
Then let's do
Let's
that.
focus,
Let's not make this harder than it
Yep.
has to be. So Monday, March 23rd at, is 7 p.m. still work, or would you like to meet earlier?
If it's possible for everybody, maybe do it earlier for them too. you know.
Would we want to do 6 p.m.? Could everyone get here?
Yep.
Let's do Monday, the 23rd at 6 p.m. We will have our public hearing and a special meeting to to consider that one application. Do we need to vote on that, or can we just say it's happening?
You could say it's happening, and then we'll.
It's
we'll close,
happening.
right?
Okay, just let me, one question, are you gonna have time to post that on, public hearing notice?
Yes,
Yep.
I've
Okay.
already been in contact with someone at the community advocate, so you're
Okay.
ready to go, and this will be up, the public, notice of the public hearing will be posted.
Okay, excellent.
All right, so on the 23rd of this month, how is it, March? We will consider that.
All right.
So we look forward to seeing you folks then.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we can move to, our next action item is to vote to recommend our draft warrant article language for the select board. The first is for our annual appropriation.
I can pull this up on the screen. So I know this language will probably be familiar with most of you. It's the standard warrant article language that's used for the Community Preservation Committee every year. That goes through the projected revenues and allocations that we had talked about previously in the draft budget. You'll also notice that there is a section for returning funds as well. And these come from the Prospect Park Pergola project. There also are funds returning from the Lake Street Park Story Walk. There were 24 cents needing to be returned, so that's where that comes from. And there are also, let me. There's also $6 returning from the District Number 5 Schoolhouse Facility Review Project. Those 24 cents that I had mentioned from the Story Walk, the Prospect Park Pergola has $28,500 returning. And I actually have to update this number because we did receive the project closeout for, and it was approved by this committee tonight, for the architectural study that was submitted right at the end of the day, so I didn't get a chance to put it in here. But there are $5,054 returning from that project.
Maybe I'm confused.
Mhm.
I thought we weren't getting returning funds until town meeting voted to give it back to us. And now,
Correct.
it doesn't get a warrant article until we put signage up.
So that is correct for projects that have not been approved for project closeout from this committee. All of the projects that I listed, they have received official project closeout from all of you, and most of them are either studies that it's not possible to have signage, or for example, the pergola project, I know the last part of that project is not able to be completed, so that's why those funds are being returned. So yes, you are correct, there are a few projects, but those projects are not having any funds that are recommended to have funds being returned at this upcoming town meeting.
Okay. It seems like we could close out the Dean Park basketball court and get $95,000 back if this committee so decided to do it.
Signage?
No,
Signage.
because the signs have not been
Signage,
placed
you
yet.
know.
Okay. Studies don't get signs. I got it.
Should the article have a sum under total revenues?
Ah, yes, it should. Thank you for catching that.
Say that again, what?
Pardon?
Would you say? I missed that.
I asked if the article should have a sum under where it says total revenues,
Oh,
the first part.
Yes, I can add that in right now. It's a sum of the two numbers above it.
brings me to my question. The total revenues, the sum of those two numbers is $1,179,000. The sum of your allocation is $1,329,000.
Does that include the
Interest.
administration admin fee as well?
Yeah, 66,000 includes the five numbers, the 66, 132 three times, and the 864 add up to $1,329,000. On your revenue, you get $1,179,000. The difference is the $150,000 that you show on this report as interest income.
Yeah.
So you're not including your interest income in your revenues. And again, go back to
In the
we're gonna
total
allocate
revenue?
more money than you're showing as than income.
I guess. The 10% number
No,
is taken from total revenue,
it's taken from where?
from total revenue. So if on the,
Add up the two
Draft
numbers. Add up the
fiscal
two
year?
numbers.
Yeah, she did that.
it's the 10% of total revenue. Which does not, the interest isn't shown on the draft warrant article language. The interest isn't shown there.
Right.
Correct, yeah. It is just the total revenue from the surcharge and the state match.
Okay. How do you explain that, I guess? All I'm saying is, if somebody sitting at the town meeting adds the numbers up, they might ask you why is the total revenue different from the allocation? And I don't know, how do you explain that
Right.
at the town meeting?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's, a
Can't
good
just say
point.
we left the number out.
Right. No, I do understand.
John is a
what you
town
mean.
meeting member, by the way.
Oh,
So, yeah.
yes.
I'm not gonna ask, I'm asking it now, I'm not gonna
Well,
say.
maybe
No,
she
I
doesn't
do
get called on.
I may need John
Um,
sitting next to me for that.
I do think that's a very fair question and something that I think we would have to work with the town accountant and our budget specialist as well to figure out the best language to present that to town meeting members. So that's something that we can do to find the right language for that.
Okay.
Should we wait for you to get that clarification or some answers before we consider approving this particular warrant article? Just once we approve it, it's sent to the select board, and I would very much like us not to have to change one after we've sent it to them
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
Once was good enough.
I completely understand that. What we can do is we can approve this if it's acceptable with the committee at our special meeting that we'll have.
That should give, would that give you sufficient time to get clarification from the accountant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to John's point, a lot of this is, I believe, more so just the language that would be used to present this to town meeting versus the actual estimations. And that's something
Yes.
that Griffin and I can get.
So yes.
Can you ask him about adding in interest, just like returning funds down the bottom?
That is a question we can pose to them.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So let's hold the first of these warrant articles, the annual appropriation article. We'll hold that till our special meeting on the 23rd. Make sure we get it right the first time.
You mean,
Or the second.
You're talking about the appropriation, the
Yes,
articles?
having Emma go ahead and talk to the accountant about presenting that appropriation article. We'll wait and vote on that language after she has some answers.
Yes. Well, I think we should. I agree.
So let's move on to the next one would be the warrant article language for the Maple Ave Recreation Area field lighting. That's the next one on our, it's not in the same order on our draft warrant articles, but it is there if you scroll down.
Yeah, it's also up on the screen
It
as
says
well.
to see. Does the article need to have the amount in it?
It does not, no. That, the specific amount is what is told in the motion at town meeting. So the actual warrant article
Okay.
itself does not have the specific amount.
Yeah, this is just what the selectmen are gonna sign.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So that article, I don't know if you all can see it or if you like the sound of my voice and want me to read it aloud.
So-
Yes.
This article that will get to the selectmen that they will sign will be, say, just like this. Because I guess, to me, what's hanging out there is if Selco shows up and said, you know, they can put the poles in the ground or whatever, the number would come down, so we probably, until the warrant book, the finance warrant book, has to go to press, we could change that number.
Theoretically, I know it would obviously have to be approved by this committee, since you are the ones who
It would have to
recommended
be,
the specific
if,
amount.
even if the number's gonna be less than we voted on, we have to approve it again?
I don't know the specifics. I would imagine you would, only because it's the committee's recommendation. So I would imagine that that's something that you would have to officially vote to recommend a different amount.
In the very beginning of all this, I thought was told that at town meeting, town meeting could take 3 actions on each of our articles. One, to just say no. One, to say yes at the number we suggest, or to say yes, but at a lower number than what we suggest.
Correct.
True.
Yeah.
They can't give
can-
more, but they can give less.
Correct. But I guess maybe I'm misunderstanding the question. If it's what all of you are recommending, I am not sure if that can change. I guess, John, like you were saying right before town meeting.
Well, see, and again, I can't remember any specific instance. I was on the finance committee for 12 years, but I can't remember a specific instance where we came in and said, okay, we don't need, you know, they guessed $100,000, now we only need 72. So we would change the number on the run. I can't remember an instance like that.
Or could there be a substitute motion? Sometimes when we check in at town meeting, there is a substitute motion that has
Yeah.
I think for that same sort of situation, there's a different number on the substitute motion than what was printed in the book because factors
Because
changed.
I think, again, I did contact Chris Roy and asked him about it, and he's checking into it at this point as to what, if anything, they can do. So,
I will say if it gets approved at the 650,000, the funds will be reallocated if they're not spent. I know that's the long way around, but
it is, yeah, but that'll tie it up for a year or two, let's say.
yep.
Yeah.
But they will be reallocated. It is, they're not gone forever theoretically. If
no.
it does come in way under budget, like you're saying, but I do understand that yes, it is definitely gonna be held up for a couple of years, maybe.
That's all.
But that doesn't change the language of our warrant article. That would change
correct.
potentially the language of the motion, which
Yep.
we're not voting on tonight.
Correct.
So we still have a little time.
Yeah, if you read the selectmen warrant articles, there's no dollars in them. She's right on
Yep.
that.
So are we comfortable with the language of this warrant article for Maple Ave recreation lighting as is?
Community Preservation Fund annual revenues are available funds.
I do think, let's see, it says installing overhead lighting at the softball field. It should say and at the full-size multi-purpose soccer lacrosse field. Just put at, so it's clear that the lighting is to illuminate each of these playing spaces.
See, I kind of do have a question. Let's look at both of them. If we go to the affordable housing one, it reads, to see if the town will vote to appropriate or transfer from the Community Preservation Fund annual revenues.
Or available funds.
Yeah, on the other one, I guess it says the Community Preservation Funds. Remember we got into, on the gravestone one, we got into an issue because we were taking it out of the historical restoration account and there wasn't enough money.
Right.
So I guess, is this the new language that they're gonna use? They're just gonna stay very general? It's out of the Community Preservation Fund.
Correct.
Initially, I thought we couldn't do that. We had to go identify the specific fund it was coming out of.
So for the purposes of these warrant articles, it can be more general to give flexibility to be
Okay.
able to come from multiple funds, especially for those bigger projects.
Okay.
Um,
This is the selectmen one. When we actually go to the town meeting, it might have to be more specific.
could the specific motion will be, kind of like we were just discussing,
Yeah,
we'll have.
So
okay.
the motion will have the exact figure and from which particular pots of
Correct.
community preservation money it'll come from.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a few years, we'll get this right eventually. So are there any other edits or questions to the Maple Ave recreation lighting? The only other thing I can think of is where article and it says Maple Ave recreation, maybe recreation field lighting, because you're lighting fields, not just the whole area. And in the italic section at the bottom as well, add field. So we can be as crystal clear as possible. Are there any other questions, edits? Or are we ready to make a motion particular just to the article for Maple Ave recreation field area field lighting?
I'll make a motion, we accept the article as printed for the Maple Ave recreation lighting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the article as written?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that article wording is approved. The next is the Affordable Housing Trust, which is just above it. Are there any edits or questions to that article? If there are none, is anyone ready, willing to make
Can I ask
a?
a question? It says here, I read it before, but I guess it went right over my head. It says, after the Affordable Housing Trust to be expended by June 30th, 2028, unless the CPC by majority vote extends the deadline.
That's for any project. You guys can choose how long you extend the
They all have a 2-year
funding. Yep.
funding.
Correct.
Okay, I suppose we could just leave it. Because I'm saying, in this case, once we vote this, the Housing Trust gets it. And if they don't spend it by that date, they still got the money. If they're using it, to me, it's a different type of category. Like when we're building the basketball courts, we put a date that it had, the project had to be done. This one here,
It's the same
So-
idea.
Yeah, this
so
is,
if they don't hand out the money by that date, they gotta give it back to us?
Well, they have
Or-
to,
or
they
we
would
c-
come
or
to
we
us and
extend it.
explain where they are.
Exactly.
Like why, if maybe only 17 families applied for rental assistance, they would give us an update or let us know the status of that project.
I guess that's fair.
They can explain that, oh, well, they haven't been spent because of X, Y, and Z, and request an extension, or if,
Okay,
you know,
yeah, and
if
that
it's
would,
done, it's done. The program is done.
all right.
that would be up to the discretion of the board whether or not an
Trying to
extension.
anticipate stuff here that may not happen.
That is a good question, because it is a
That's
different
okay.
type of article.
Yeah.
But no matter what, it would compel them at that time to let us know the status, if it's all spent or if it's not. We might be able to help them troubleshoot, why not?
All right.
Are there any other questions about that one? And then is there a motion to approve the wording of this warrant article as written?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor of approving the Affordable Housing Trust warrant article as written?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That is also approved.
Emma, excuse me, Emma, we will see the motion language before town meeting, right? That has all,
Yeah, so, yes, that is something, that can be shared with the committee. I'm not sure if it's in the actual booklets that go out to town meeting members, I'm not
yeah,
sure.
it usually
I-
is, but I'd wonder
yeah,
if we see
then-
it before that, in case there's any,
I honestly, I'm not sure if maybe a committee member also recalls if that was shared, prior to the booklets going out to town meeting members. But if it's not, obviously we have to prepare it for the booklet, so
Right,
that can be shared
okay.
with the committee as well.
just to know which kitties things are coming out of,
Yeah,
in case there's
absolutely.
combination.
That'll be in the motion. And then on this list, we also have the one from the District 5 Schoolhouse, but I think we could wait and we could have a 3-item meeting on the 23rd, that once we have, if we recommend funding going forward, then we'll take up the article for that.
Okay,
So, that point, the last left on our agenda is any correspondence.
No correspondence this month.
Okay. And then we were going to talk about our CPC annual public forum. We have traditionally done that in April, where we invite the community. We try to do outreach to the committees that some of you represent, as well as at the first time we did it, we sent emails to nonprofits and schools in the community and asked them to come in, a very brief overview of what CPC is, how they can ask, who's eligible, and gather ideas of what the community priorities might be for the year ahead. We had talked about trying to schedule that in conjunction with our regular scheduled April meeting. Does anyone have any thoughts, opinions? Just carry on, because that will also need to be advertised as a public hearing. If the April meeting is scheduled for
April 6th.
April 6th. We'll be here before we know it.
would it be possible to also have that virtual, so people could, we did that for the 300th, and it seemed to work.
Yeah. We could
It
also,
was both, people could come in person, or they could
yeah,
call in or whatever, and
and we had also talked in a meeting about potentially sending out a survey to the community, either in that newsletter that comes out.
Yes,
Yes,
in this newsletter, I was just gonna say, put it
Yeah.
out in the newsletter.
we could put together, if there's a couple of people who might like to work on thinking about some questions to put in that survey, but we could use that as part of our fact-finding mission, and get people's opinions and thoughts. It seems like the community is starting to participate a little bit more in these surveys, so I think it could be useful.
in that stay connected, is that what
Yeah.
you're talking about, the stay, yeah, that'd be good.
Hannah likes to put headlines in all the
Yeah.
articles, so
Yeah.
I think she ought to just put wanted. poof, and explain. People that come and give us projects to spend money.
Oh, I mean, I'm happy to try to put together some potential survey questions. Is there anyone who would like to work with me? So it's not just my opinion.
We do
Excellent.
have.
We will have coffee and we will figure
Yeah,
this
I
out.
was gonna say, yeah.
We do have a survey that's been used in previous years too that I can share with both of you. So if you want to keep it the same, great.
That'd be
If
great.
there's other questions the committee wants to add, we can do that as well.
That would be fantastic. So that is everything that is on our agenda for tonight, unless anyone else has a burning question or issue they want to add. Otherwise, we will have our special meeting on Monday, March 23rd at 6 p.m. And what else?
Well, I was just gonna say on the, getting the word out, I often see the coalition sending out, projects that have been done, CPA projects, and sometimes I'll repost it, but I think now that some of our projects are completed, we really need to put that out there, you know, a little, just, or have the coalition do it, or I don't know who would do it, but, so that the community knows that those projects are completed and that they were funded by CPA. And I think if they see that on social media, they'll be more conscious of what CPA is doing, and then maybe they'll come to our April meeting, you know, so maybe between now and then, some of those posts could be made of projects that have been completed. And,
We could ask Tanner to do something about that in his newsletter.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
even
I-
if there's no signage on the project yet, you could still say it's completed.
I think if we sit down and kind of do this questionnaire, we can, as part of that, basically talk about projects we've completed, and maybe even just, you know, the article would become too long, so we could put all the completed articles somewhere and then have a link. Click on it and poof, everything comes up, all the stuff we did. You know,
Yeah.
Tana could do that. That would be actually good.
Yeah, I think another great resource is the CPC webpage on the Shrewsbury website too, because that lists out all the projects. So that's a great place to refer people to. And that is also something that can definitely be highlighted at the annual forum as well. Because I know we usually, in the past, a lot of that public forum has been explaining what CPA is, which obviously we can still do, but maybe shorten that section a little bit and then also focus on projects that have been
Right.
completed in the community.
Yeah,
I
we-
think people are a little more hesitant to go to the website than when they're clicking on.
They are on the
Twitter or
website. We
Facebook
could
or
put that link in an announcement about the survey.
Yeah.
You know, check out what we've done and think about what else the
Yeah.
community could do together.
Yeah, I think that is a good idea, because like you said, going to the web page, you know, you gotta get on the town website, you gotta get to the,
Yeah,
you know,
click, click, click.
it's about 5 or 6 clicks before you get to where you wanna go, and people get lost.
Yeah, if we could send them directly, a link
tradition.
directly to what's here. That might
Yeah,
be
there's
a whole lot
more on
easier.
there.
So we will talk after, find a time, get a date on the calendar
Yep.
ASAP. Is there anything else? Then is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And